Hey crafters, welcome back to She's Crafty Paperworks. I'm so glad you're here. Today we are finishing up Christmas in July, and we're going to do that with Spellbinders Small Die of the Month. Now, this is the only one that I consistently subscribe to. I know it's been a few months since I've done a video on a Small Die of the Month. Honestly, I haven't been feeling it, but I do think that this is a solid one to add to the Christmas collection. And what I'm going to do today is mostly a share video versus a tutorial. Things have been rather hectic these last few days, or actually this last week and a half. The dogs have been sick, and I have been doing a lot of steam cleaning, and it is, I think, advantageous for me as I've been trying to get this video out for several attempts now to just keep it rather quick while I leave the dogs unattended. So I have a few things that I want to start off with. Now, if you're new here, I do store my dies and any of my bundles in these folders in binders. And when I went to store this one, I realized that I already had something under the label Christmas Cups, and it's this one here, and it's called the Merry Mug Creations. It's part of Nicole Spore's collection. And what I did when I went to do the die cutting was I took a little bit from this section. So this is the Nicole Spore section here. And so I took the chocolate, the marshmallows, and these large candy canes. And so when I did the die cutting for these, I went ahead and added those in there just to vary it up a little bit. I like to do that with my dies. I like to see what other things that I can add to it and how I can generally extend the life of my dies a little bit further. And so that I wanted to highlight. I also wanted to highlight that I went ahead and got this month's clear stamp and die of the month. I don't normally do that, but honestly, I did not do that for the walrus and for last month, and I regret doing that because it's just sitting there and I don't know what to do with it. And it's, you know, talking about taking these dies further, this is something that can do that. So all of the sentiments are centered around, you know, for example, a cup of cheer just for you, stay warm, sip happily, and so forth. I think that it definitely helps keep the sentiments more cohesive and overall adds to the life of the dies. So I went ahead and did it for this month. Like I said, I regret doing it, not doing it last month. So I may eventually go back and get that just so I have something to do with that walrus, the poor walrus. All right, one more thing before we jump in to the cards. I did want to share my color scheme. Now, I am using Concord and Ninth cardstock, but if you like to kind of approximate the color scheme, this is what I'm using here. Cranberry, carnation, sweet pea, parsley, and evergreen. This first card has those elements from Nicole Spore's collection here, that Merry Mug Creations. And so it has, I have 2 of the candy canes and the marshmallows and 2 little pieces of chocolate. Now I'm going to get a little close here so you can see a little bit of that dimension. It's getting kind of flooded out with the lighting. And the sentiment is double stacked. In fact, all of the sentiments were double stacked. And because this has a lot of layers, I did add Simon Says stamp foam squares underneath the penguin and underneath the handle to lift this portion of the cup up so it didn't sit slanted. And one of the things that you'll notice with all 6 cards is that I rely heavily on my nesting dies. I did not do a lot of background embellishments. I didn't do any embossing folders or stenciling techniques. I kept it rather kind of clean and simple. I did one that has some spattering, but nothing too major, because I was going for that clean and simple. And part of that is that I might give this away as a gift box. And if I do that, I try to keep more of the cards in a clean and simple because not everybody likes a lot of embellishments. And so when I give them as gifts, I tend to do that. So this is the postage nesting dies from Spellbinders. One thing I like about using the dies from Nicole Spore's collection, though, is that it gave me a little bit of extra height. And then having these marshmallows down at the bottom, I like the embellishment. And so, again, I have that kind of clean and simple, but still very much a statement. Now, these nesting dies are the only ones that do not come from Spellbinders, and they're called squashed ovals, and they're from Lisa Horton. I got them from scrapbook.com. But I'll get a little bit closer. You can see that this is glitter here, and this is the candy cane that comes with it. So there's a big difference between the candy cane sizes, and that's why I wanted to add that extra, just to play around with it a little bit. The squashed ovals, though, really add a retro feel, which I think go hand in hand with these cups, which also have that retro look to them. This is the only other card that has the marshmallows and the chocolate. And this is the one that I was talking about, though, that has the spattering or splattering effect. And what I did was use Concord and Ninth cranberry ink, and I just used a water pen. I added a couple drops of water and blended it up and just splatter away. Easy peasy. Okay, so for this one, I went with a more minimalist look. The snowflakes are glued only at the center, and so there's a little bit of dimension here because they do stick up just a little bit. Now the cup is glued flat, but what I did was I glued this panel here with craft foam. My husband is a retired teacher, and I use a lot of craft foam that I got from his classroom when he retired. Before he donated a lot of his stuff, I said, let me go through and get some of the stuff that I lent him over the years. And then he had an abundance of craft foam, and so I took some of those packages. So this is something that we would get from Michael's, and you get 65 sheets of it. I like to use this when I'm using something big like this, only because craft foam adhesive can be pretty pricey when you're using that much of it, because you want that stability, you don't want dips in it. And so this gives me a very stable surface, and I think it's a very finished look, and it's cheaper. That, by the way, now I don't know what it is now, but when we originally bought it, it was only $5 for all of that. So it is much more cost effective. Again, propped up on craft foam. This one I use green craft foam. And I do cut it a little bit smaller than for example, with this one, instead of cutting it with the die, because you can die cut it, it will spread out though if you die cut it. So what I do is I use the smaller nesting die. And in something like this, I just cut the square. And for this one, this also has that glitter. And for the center of the snowflakes, I use Spellbinders pink opalescent sequins to put in the center. And I added a scarf underneath his beard for this one. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, and welcome to all of the new subscribers. I'm so happy you're here, and I will see you next week with another long form, and probably later this week with a short form. I have a 21st birthday card to make for a lovely young lady, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet, but I want to make it something special for her. So tune in for that, and otherwise I'll see you next week. You take care now. Bye-bye.